Danny Lee here with UST Mamiya. We're at our corporate headquarters and we're going to build a driver just to show you guys how we do it. So the first step that we do is basic prep work for the driver, whether it's a standard driver or a driver with adapters, which most drivers are nowadays. In this example, we're basically doing a driver, this cowboy driver here with an adapter. The first thing I've already done is actually prep the inside of the tip here, just so the epoxy will bond a little bit better with it. As you can see too, I've already also prepped the tip, taking basically the paint off the shaft so that way it adhere to the epoxy. As well as cut it to plane length of 45.5, which is their standard plane length. And basically what I've done here is done a dry fit, dry run, just to estimate what the swing weight's going to be. So it gives me an idea based on shaft length, shaft weight, total head weight. And then we also can put a grip in there as well to give an idea of what if it's D0, D1, D2, if I need to make any adjustments to it. Next step is going to be basically bonding the shaft to the head. Real easy here. Basically, we're just going to be mixing epoxy. There's different types of epoxy you can use. There's 24-hour set where basically what it sounds like, it takes 24 hours for the epoxy to cure, or you can use Torvan epoxy, which I'm about to use right here. Torvan epoxy typically sets within 10 minutes, and it's essentially head's ready to go. Put a grip on there. You could be out on the range within 30 minutes or less, depending on temperature. But we're using basically 810, a DP 810, which is typical standard on PJ Torvans. So 2 parts epoxy basically. Put the epoxy on here. Just get enough for this particular head. And then we're good to go. Basically all you have to do is just mix it for a good 10 seconds, and then we're off to the next step where we will put the epoxy into the tip there, tip adapter. And at this point, obviously, depending on shaft diameter, shaft OD, or of the particular head too as well, you could have, you could use basically shims or whatever, but this is easy 335 tip with a 335 hosel. So there's different things. Obviously with irons, you have 370 parallel heads, and you can use 355 taper shafts or 370 shafts. So now we mix the epoxy. First step I'll do is basically put some epoxy onto the tip of the shaft. The reason I do that is basically 2 things. The ferrule, the sleeve, can go in there a little easier, but then also it allows it to have a little bit of glue on there too to stay there permanently, because sometimes if you don't put epoxy there, the ferrule can move up and down the particular shaft. Also heat causes that as well. So now that's on, next step is I will put epoxy into the tip adapter. So good amount is rule of thumb is if you put more epoxy into the particular head, it's better than less. If you put too little, sometimes it doesn't cure properly, so that might become an issue. So just make sure you get the epoxy in all the nooks and crannies of this particular adapter here. Once that is in, basically take that out. I want to put some epoxy on the tip as well, just a little bit, just a coating of it. Really don't need it, honestly, but I do that just for extra adhesion. Next step is basically you put the tip into the head, make sure the ferrule is set properly, and then alignment with graphics. Obviously logo down here, and just a tap just to make sure it's all in. Next part is basically just removing any excess epoxy so it doesn't dry on the outside, and voila, you're done. This is real simple, easy to do. 1 club to 10 clubs, you're doing the same thing every single time. So just make sure you clean it. Next step, put it down, let it dry. This one should be ready in 10 minutes. Put the grip on, and then you're ready to hit the club.